If you want to prepare a document or printout presenting an email correspondence in chronological order, you've got a challenge. You face one and possibly two significant problems. The first is that an email usually has all the previous messages in the conversation appended to it. If you print the email message, they're in reverse order, not what you want. The second problem crops up if the messages you want are not all contained in a single email. If someone in the conversation sends a new email that is not a direct reply to a previous email, then a separate chain begins. So, if you want to process several emails, you will have to deal with the likelihood that some of the messages are repeated in the chains of messages appended to each email. You have to find and discard the duplicates. Dealing with these problems is possible, but very time-consuming and error-prone. Now there is a solution. If you use Microsoft Outlook, there is an add-in called Print for Trial that will do exactly what you want. It's called Print for Trial because it was originally specified by a barrister who specialised in employment cases where emails were often cited in evidence and had to be presented to the court. You may have other reasons to produce this document, but the challenges and the solution are just the same. Here we are in Outlook for Office 365, the desktop version, not the web page version. Here's the Print for Trial button. You can install Print for Trial, or PFT, in any version of Outlook from Outlook 2007 onwards. To start with, I'll click the PDF button with a single email already selected. Everything you need is on this form. The first page simply shows the main details of the email I have selected. Note that it says there are 3 appended messages as well as the original. And there is a brief description of what each of the tab pages is for. This page shows that just 2 senders are involved in this correspondence. Imagine that I only want a record of what the first sender has written. I'll deselect the second sender, and only messages from the first sender will be included in my document. On the Messages tab page, you can see that a further set of tab pages has been created, one for each message in the email chain. Here the full message is shown, and there is a tick box that allows you to select or deselect the message. Note that the first message is deselected because on the previous page I had deselected that sender. The second message is selected. I don't have to stick with these choices, I can refine them as I go along. The next page presents the messages in a different way, and here again you can refine your choice of which messages will be included. This grid view was included for the situations where the number of messages involved makes that tabbed view on the previous page a little unwieldy. I'll come back to this page later when I show you what happens when several emails are selected. The next page allows you to set the details of a cover page. If you want one, then tick the box. You can show the company name if required. As a title, you can use the email's subject line, write your own, or leave the default. The same applies to an introductory paragraph. Use the default or write your own. The preview page shows you the result of the choices you've made so far. It's an exact copy of the documents to be produced, except that page breaks are not shown. The cover page is as I defined it, and there is a simple summary of the messages contained. Note that only 2 of the 4 messages in the email are included because that's what I selected. Below the cover page are the messages themselves. Now we're ready to produce your document. You can send your output to a printer or save it in one of 3 formats, HTML, PDF or Word, if you want a document just to work with on screen. Before clicking one of the buttons, just check the options. Print for Trial will save you choices, which makes it simpler if you regularly use the same settings. First, there's a second chance to decide whether or not to have a cover page. Usually you want to include the messages you've selected, but there may be occasions that you will want just the cover page with its summary list of messages. If you don't tick either of these boxes, you'll get a warning, because there'll be nothing in the report. Hyperlinks are not relevant if you only want paper output, but are very useful if you'll be using one of the file-based formats for on-screen. If you tick this box, then the cover page's list of messages will include hyperlinks that enable you to jump straight to any message, and after each message there will be a link to jump back to the message summary list. Print for Trial also creates a bookmark for each page, but you don't need to tick a box for this to happen. If you intend to produce your document as a PDF, it may be that the hyperlinks are not necessary, as bookmarks will do everything you need. If you want printed output, you can choose whether or not to print attachments, but beware of printing Excel spreadsheets without previewing them first. See the web help page on attachments for more details. If I choose to show the printer dialog, then I get the dialog box which allows me to change the printer or set the number of copies. If you are creating a document file rather than a paper printout, you can select the format. Emails usually arrive composed in HTML code, and this is what Print for Trial works with. If you want a Word document, Print for Trial will create it behind the scenes. If you want a PDF, it does the same, but then gets Word to export the document in PDF format. Whichever button you click, the sequence is the same. So if I click the PDF button, first of all, it asks me to give the file a file name and confirm where it's going to be saved. The default file name is whatever you've put as the title of the document, and in this case record an email chain was the default title, but it would come up with whichever of the title options I'd picked. I could also navigate to the various folders wherever I want to print it. In this case I'm just going to go put it in a temp folder and I will save it. The orange feedback label tells me what's going on. The length of this process will vary depending entirely on the complexity of what you're asking Print for Trial to do. If there are lots of emails with lots of sub-messages within them, it could take more than a minute. And here we are. My computer is showing the result in Adobe Acrobat Reader because on my computer that program is set to be the default program for reading PDFs. It may be different on your machine. Anyway, if I click on the bookmarks mark, you can see the bookmarks enable me to jump to the various messages or back to the message list. There is a page on the web help all about bookmarks. Now let's take a look at what happens when you have more than one email selected. I've got 6 selected here, and I click the button. The job of splitting each email into separate messages and then eliminating the duplicates will take longer, as each of the increasing number of messages has to be checked against the increasing number of other messages. If you've selected too many and don't want to wait, you may have noticed that there was a cancel button so you can stop and think again. There's no theoretical limit to the number of emails. Once the process is finished, the cancel button disappears and the summary button is shown, as you can see, and it shows that of the 6 emails that were processed, there were 25 sub-messages and 15 of these were regarded as duplicates. If I click OK and go to the messages grid, you can see that this begins to be a bit more useful when we're dealing with a larger number of messages. Now, you've got the usual details here, who the message is from and to, when it was sent, and the subject. The body is just showing the plain text body, and you can see just the beginning of the body. But if you need to know a bit more detail, if you just hover over the message, you can see that slightly more of it pops up. Apart from that, everything is pretty much the same. If we go to the preview, we've now got a longer list of messages because we haven't deselected anything. And here I'm just going to use the hyperlink to jump down the page, and I've jumped straight to message 10, and if I want to, I can jump straight back to the message list. And there we are. Just a couple of other tabs. On the feedback page, it's just a very easy way to send us feedback. You just click on that and an email is prepared, ready to send to us. Registration details just gives details of your license, and about gives details of the software version. So that's it. If you need to print an email correspondence in date order, you need Print for Trial. Print for Trial 2 is the great new version which introduces the ability to handle multiple emails and dramatically improved PDF rendering. You can download a free copy in order to evaluate it from printfortrial.com, and do contact us at Greenhill Software if you want to know more. Details are below.